Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Constitutionalist. I am your host, Ammo Dog, and it's great to be with you guys today. Before we get started with just a handful of topics today, just wanted to ask everybody to, if you would, please like, subscribe, share to this YouTube channel. Just helps me out quite a bit. If you want to, drop me a line in the comment section. You hear that on every YouTube show, but I guess it helps us out when you do that. So, and feedback is good by any way or means, whether good or bad. It just helps one to improve in their content, and I'd appreciate it. So if you want to send me an email directly, you can do that at theconstitutionalist71@gmail.com. We also do this as a podcast, so you can pick us up wherever you find your podcasts at. So thank you for indulging me for a moment on that. So I only have a handful of topics today, but before getting started in that, I wanted to reflect just for a moment, because just yesterday, which was the 4th of December, there was a pretty to me anyway, a pretty significant milestone in American history that we had an anniversary of, and that is General George Washington's farewell to his troops. And this took place, again, it was in 1783 on December 4th, and I just have a couple of notes, and I'm going to kind of read them as they are. So the farewell address to his troops took place at a little, well, it wasn't too little, but a tavern known as Flounce's Tavern in New York City. After he rallied his troops over to that tavern, they weren't expecting his resignation, and he made it known to his troops first what his intentions were, and that was to resign his commission, forfeit the command of the Continental Army, and head back to his beloved Mount Vernon to be a farmer, which is what he was doing before, and that's all he wanted to do. It's what he longed for. His wife Martha was there and waiting on him. So again, this final farewell took place at Flounce's Tavern in New York City. Of course, all of this followed 6 years of brutal war against England, and culminated in the defeat of British General Lord Charles Cornwallis after the Battle of Yorktown in the year 1781. A thorough account of this farewell comes from none other than Colonel Benjamin Talmadge, who, in addition to commanding the 2nd Continental Light Dragoons, was appointed as Director of Military Intelligence by Washington back in 1776. So these, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Benjamin Talmadge. This guy was crucial in the ultimate defeat of the British, and that is for the simple reason of him being appointed the Director of Military Intelligence after several failures of spying attempts by, well, several individuals, but all of them were military, you see. So they were caught, immediately hanged as a spy, because they were military officers most of the time, but out of uniform and spying, which was a detestable thing back in those days. However, Talmadge would become known for, many things, but probably most known for his creation of what would be known as the Culper Spy Ring that took place in New York and Long Island and Setauket and Oyster Bay and all of these places. They really developed some ingenious ways to report on troop numbers, ship numbers, cannon numbers, forts, just many different things. And so if you ever get a chance to look up anything on the Culper spy ring, it's absolutely fascinating. You may or may not be interested in AMC's Turn, the series that was out. I think it was back in 2014 or 2015, but they take some creative liberty in that, so not everything is 100% true, but it certainly gives you the gist and puts you in the moment along with them, and how absolutely terrified and anxiety ridden they must have been, having to carry out these things, always on the cusp of discovery, but just getting away in the nick of time. It's harrowing. So I would recommend that you guys check that out, or any of the series of books that are out there on the Culper ring, or check out there's a lot of information even on YouTube, just little short documentaries, if you will. So anyway, I know that's heading far away from what the intent was here of Washington's final farewell, but it is part of our history, and it's just cool. It's absolutely fascinating. So check it out. At any rate, what we find out is that Benjamin Talmadge wrote a memoir where he detailed the events of that meeting in that tavern. And what he said was, and I'm just going to read it for you guys because it's his words, and Talmadge says, "We had been assembled but a few moments when His Excellency entered the room, and after partaking of a slight refreshment in an almost breathless silence, the general filled his glass with wine, and turning to the other officers, he said, 'With a heart full of love and gratitude, I now take leave of you. I must devoutly wish that your latter days may be as prosperous and happy as your former ones have been glorious and honorable.'" Talmadge goes on to say, after that, the officers had taken a glass of wine. General Washington said, "I cannot come to each of you, but shall feel obliged if each of you will come and take me by the hand." So there was a General Knox. He was standing closest to Washington, so he walked up to him first, and the two hugged with tears running down their faces. And then he said, in the same affectionate, this is Talmadge saying this as a kind of summary of what he witnessed, but he said, "In the same affectionate manner, every officer in the room marched up and parted with the General-in-Chief. Such a scene of sorrow and weeping I had never witnessed before, and fondly hope I may never be called to witness again." So he would, you can imagine all of this, the emotion, all the hell these folks had been through for the last 6 years. And any of you out there who have thrown a uniform on in your life in defense and service to our nation, you guys kind of, and girls, have a bit of a feeling about what these folks are, what Talmadge is describing here. But Washington would go on to embrace about 30 of his soldiers one by one, and then he left for Annapolis, Maryland, where he would resign his commission officially and head back to Mount Vernon for a relatively short time before he would be called again and serve as our nation's first president for 2 terms, and then finally be able to get back to Mount Vernon, where unfortunately he didn't really live that much longer, and he passed away there. At any rate, it is fascinating stuff. It is moving, and it begs the question, in my estimation anyway, as to when you look at the care and the love that he had for his troops and populace, the whole population, because it wasn't just military. Everybody knew Washington. They were all gathered around, thanking him, shaking his hand, hugging him, just extremely grateful for the sacrifices that he and all the others did, and they let them know it everywhere he went. Washington would go on a campaign of the South where where he would visit places like Camden and Camden, South Carolina, where two attempts to overtake that British-controlled place would fail miserably, and so he wanted to see it. He wanted to see what this little area was that could never be obtained. Of course, he went to Charleston and all these other little areas that all fell to the British, and all by horseback, mind you. You can't even get President Biden to fly anywhere. To visit these places where trains derail and bridges collapse and all this stuff, and he doesn't go. You can't get him to the southern border to see what the deal is. And here you got Washington, who wasn't even the president then, but just as well, there weren't any presidents, but without a doubt, the most popular man in the nation at that time, and he's mounting a horse and riding all across the country and taking weeks, if not months, to get to certain places. And again, you can't get our freaking president to get on a plane and get there in an hour or so. And anyway, I digress a little bit, but it begs the question, though, doesn't it? It makes you wonder. It makes me wonder, where in the world are our Washingtons? Where is the same level of pride and caring and concern that you obviously read about Washington having for, again, not just his troops, but all Americans as a whole? When you look at the likes of folks like Austin, the defense secretary, Floyd Austin, I don't see it there. General Milley, for God's sakes, chief of staff, and I don't know, strange policies that where they're trying to make the military like the civilian world, if you will, where social trends should also be adopted into the military, because that's so important. That has everything to do with fighting a war. And it's absurd, ladies and gentlemen, is what it is. And when you do a simple compare and contrast, if you will, I think we're severely lacking these days. You can't even, the numbers for recruitment are way down. No one wants to come in, and I don't blame them. I spent 22 years in the service. I talked about this before on this show, but I saw some deep changes, and everybody's going to see, you stay in anything for 22 years, it's going to be different from the time you got in to the time you leave. Duh. However, when these differences are very odd policy changes that don't seem to really serve any purpose, they don't seem to aid the warfighter. If anything, it limits the warfighter. It causes grave concern for the warfighter. It puts extra things on the warrior's mind, where their mind should only be focused on the mission. And these things were slowly happening, and it was my time to punch, and that's exactly what the hell I did. Now we've come. This was in 2014, so a handful of years have passed, unbelievably, since I retired. But nowadays, I'll tell you what didn't change. We never had a problem, even at the at the end of my career. You never had any problems recruiting. Sometimes you had issues with like the guard and the reserves, but you had special recruiters out there trying to meet those numbers. However, the active duty portion of the military never heard such things. They might not have been the target that they wanted, and we want this, but half the time, often they were trying to get rid of people because they had too much. So anybody that had a blemish from 10 years ago on their record, we're looking at it hard, and you got to get out. That's what was going on. They were thinning the herd oftentimes. I remember that many, many times throughout my career. But now I look, in all branches, they can't meet minimum recruiting numbers is absolutely absurd. And why would that be? There's only so much you can blame on a new generation, who whatever you want to call them, who millennials, who aren't interested. I think there are plenty that are. They're not stupid, and they look at what's going on and they're like, man, I don't want to be a part of this, and I don't blame them. But at the same time, it concerns me to my core that we have a hollowed out fighting force, and it should concern each and every one of you. So yeah, I asked, where is our General Washington? We as a nation begin to suffer due to the ineptness of those that claim to want to help us, that grasp onto their power unrelentlessly, and will do anything to hang on to it for their own benefit, not for yours. At any rate, the General Washington's, may he rest in peace, and may his memory always equate to glory and honor, and I know it does for me. So let's just discuss one of the first topics right now, the U.S. Navy being attacked in the Red Sea. You had a missile destroyer who was there in the Red Sea protecting some other commercial vessels and in their international waters, agreed upon international waters, I might add. But they get attacked by drones and missiles, and even though the naval ship was not damaged that we know of, it certainly was not for a lack of trying, because you had drones firing on them and missiles shooting over as well. And this was the USS Carney, and it is a missile destroyer, so it was able to take a lot of these out while en route. However, some of them did slip through, and that's where the damage to these commercial vessels, some of them U.S. owned or operated, took place. So I don't know of any injuries to these civilian vessels, but I certainly pray that no one is injured or killed. But this is all going on. This is a step up in the same kind of crap that's been going on over there. Because what about you? This comes like 1 week after our military was attacked at multiple bases in the Middle East. That has been going on for a couple of months now at several locations, all in the Middle East. Our military is being attacked. So this administration, the leadership of our president, quote unquote, and his military advisors are to respond by attacking a bunch of empty buildings. They attack our guys, injure them, our guys and girls, injure them, some severely, I hear, and our response is to fire a missile or drop a bomb on an empty building. How is that equatable? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. But yeah, and what you get from the White House when you watch these ridiculous press briefings, you get things like, well, the naval ship was not attacked. Let's be honest here. It was not. It didn't get hit. Doesn't mean that it wasn't attacked, you morons. I don't know. They're just strange people these days. Very odd. Look, even in the folks we know who attacked these, it's the Houthi terrorist organization funded by Iran, yet another proxy entity that they fund to carry out these attacks, probably with their orders as well. So they are backed by the Iranians, and where are the Iranians getting their money right now? They're getting it from us. We're paying them $6 billion here and millions over here, and allowing them to openly trade with oil and all this stuff. We are essentially putting money in the pockets of Iran, who then put that money in the pockets of organizations like the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, all of these terrible terrorist organizations that have done nothing but wield a campaign of rape, murder, torture, kidnappings. It's just disgusting what is going on, and It's shameful to think that whether intentionally or unintentionally, regardless of those two, intentional or unintentional, definitely known about, it's shameful to consider the fact that we might have played a part in that as a nation. And what is the White House's answer to all this? They either downplay the attacks that are going on our military, both on land and at sea. They either downplay the attack or they just deny that it was even attacked at all. You got some in up there on Capitol Hill just saying, "No, it didn't happen." Come on, man. When our military is attacked by foreign adversaries, our commander in chief either responds by targeting a bunch of empty buildings or denies that the adversarial attacks have taken place at all. Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, your military members, the ones that you were leaving hanging out to dry, they can cast votes too. And it is my prayer and it is my hope, my sincere hope and prayer that not just the military that are being left out into the wind, but each and every one of us take a careful account of how things have been these last few years. That we take these opinions of the last few years straight into that voting booth. And ladies and gentlemen, this will be, and I'll probably won't be very popular over this, but maybe those who are like-minded that might listen, it will be a popular opinion. But come on, bottom line, in my estimation, the Biden administration was stolen from the Trump administration. I'll never believe anything else. For many reasons. We can get into that one another day. But the only way to avoid something like this happening again in 2024 is not just to say, oh gosh, it looks like a whole bunch of Republicans are lined up, with their MAGA hats on, or I love Trump, or I'm a Republican t-shirts and hats on, and say, that's enough. I don't have to go. No, go. Overflood these voting booths with each and every concerned American who can see the writing on the wall. And I'll be 100% honest with you, I would wager that there are many non-Republicans or conservatives that feel the same way. And maybe in your time, in your silence, in your home, in your prayer closet, whatever it might be, you can sit there and think, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not going to tell anybody, but Biden's a complete moron. He has ran this country into the ground. And I don't know how anyone, regardless of political affiliation, could not see such a thing. And it would be my hope that they're like, yeah, maybe I'll, do a little lip service to the crowd. Yeah, woo, Biden, and then go in the booth and vote for Trump. Because let's face it, Trump is going to be he's going to be the front runner. He's going to be the guy to go against Biden once more. There's too much strangeness going on, and it is like that with any party that is going to fight and claw their way to be their party's representative to go to bat for the presidency, right? So I'm sure it's like that, regardless of what affiliation you fall under. But you got folks like Ron DeSantis, who at one time, that's the thing. I mean, come on, take the blinders off. Each and every one of these folks that are on the campaign trail now for the Republican presidency, they all sang Trump's praises. Every single one of them. There's no way that anyone cannot recall that. But if you listen to him now, you swear they were bitter enemies all along. Oh God, I never liked Trump. Bull crap. You accepted money from him. You accepted endorsements from him to get you guys where you were. Democrats accepted money for years from him. And That's where you see all the photos of him and, Al Sharpton, arm in arm, buddy, Jesse Jackson. He's standing at Ellis Island next to Rosa Parks winning that award. Muhammad Ali, he was with everybody, all from color to political affiliation. He mingled with them all, and now suddenly he's the worst thing ever. So to me, that's telling. And you gotta wonder, when somebody wants you out so bad, why is that exactly? When and it always seems to be one party. So all these Democrats fighting, you got Trump and all multiple indictments, conveniently making sure that he doesn't have the time to campaign. Come on, man, the timing is everything. And I know y'all aren't blind out there. So at any rate, if you're a Democrat and you're seriously looking at things, in your own time, I'm not talking about when you're with the boys and girls, you gotta go with the flow or else, I understand that. But in your own time, when you're sitting there, analyzing in your own mind, maybe pull up your bank account and stare at it, and then formulate your opinion. Go on, maybe get some bank records from 2016 to 2020 in between those times and look at it. If you had investments or a CD or something, and then if you still have investments, look at both of those, the bottom lines of those, and then maybe make a decision. So at any rate, on Meet the Press, you had Ron DeSantis out there looking into the camera, asking Trump why he's running for president, and said if it's for revenge on your enemies, then the country will suffer for that. Then he went on to say I'm focused on the folks, and that I am the vessel, but the people are who I serve. I'm just the vessel. Ron, who desperately sought, begged, and received the endorsement of the president, is probably the number one reason why he sits in the governor's mansion now. And look, everybody wants a shot at the brass ring, and I get it, but he can only do 4 years, and he did such great things, such great accomplishments in his first 4 years. So to me, it's like all you guys that are and girls that are running up there, you're fairly young. Let this man do his job for 4 more years and set the stage for you guys to come in. And as long as you can stay out of the pockets of bureaucrats, which I don't think all of them do, as long as you can, when Trump went, he would forfeit his paycheck all the time. I'm not saying you guys need to do that, but every one of you are wealthy. So why not? Why not pick a charity of your choice? You don't need that 200 and something thousand a year. Every one of you are millionaires. So do a term. Show, following the footsteps of Trump on that, but also in the opinions way back during the founding father days of Benjamin Franklin, who it was his opinion that anybody that takes that office, that goes into public service, any public service, it was his opinion, but especially the presidency, should be, because it was men in those days, so he would say they should already be a self-made man. They should not seek monetary gain from public service. So you should already be successful when you go and assume a high office such as the presidency. And that way you are not looking for monetary gain as a source of income. You should not enrich yourself through public service. You should already be enriched before you enter public service. That was his opinion, I wonder if that's the case with folks like Biden, who's never done a damn thing except politics all of his life, and apparently that pays super well with his multiple homes and millionaire status and classic cars and classified documents stuffed in every one of them, and gets away with it scot-free. So, maybe being a politician is pretty lucrative and Teflonish, where things don't stick to you unless your name is Trump, then you're screwed. But at any rate, we're like Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry. Look at all these guys. They're uber wealthy and they're politicians. Many of them have never done a damn thing else, So that should tell you something right there. And obviously not taking Benjamin Franklin's words to heart. And they weren't rules, but they were, they weren't laws, but they were highly suggested, and you can understand why. You can understand why he would say that. I certainly do. So, I don't know. Here's the deal, though. Regardless of the DeSantis's and his opinions on what should and shouldn't be when it comes to Trump is ahead of Biden by 8 points, right? He's leaps and bounds over DeSantis and any of the other candidates. They're still dropping out like flies, right? And Trump has never even done a debate, doesn't feel he has to, and it's completely understandable. Why should he waste time? Going over there he's already here, that way he can be here. Ahead is ahead, and that's what he feels right now. And I don't blame him. Plus, of course, he's being chained down in all these stupid indictments. But, they would more want to concentrate on the fact that he called his accusers and his detractors vermin. Suddenly, that's like the most horrible news you could, that could ever come across the airwaves. Seriously, vermin? He referred to people that are unjustly trying to prosecute him, bring up these bullcrap charges as vermin. Is that really the worst thing you ever heard Trump call someone or say? Whatever. Stupid. But, who the hell cares about that? But it's okay, because he's, what does that say about the other guys whenever you're being weighed down in courts, you're being investigated on so many different levels, so you don't even do a single debate and you're double digits ahead of every single one of them, and at least 8 points, no matter how you look at it, according to the newest Harris poll, ahead of Biden. And in every demographic and every concern out there, what people talk about, whether you're black, white, woman, man, it doesn't matter. Every, class, they take these polls. He's 8 points ahead of Biden and everything. They should be shaking in their crap, and I hope they are, the Dems. Because this is well beyond the margin of error. And of course, as we stated, it's leaps and bounds ahead of any other Republican candidate. So, at any rate, speaking of them trying to drag down Trump in court and all, some of the not some of them, all of them is what I had read. The January 6th deposition tapes. So what these are, of course, I know all of you know what a deposition is, but when they created this ridiculous January 6th committee, right, to investigate the goings-ons that took place on January 6th, they obviously accused a bunch of people. Some people got sentenced. They, went to trial, and some of them are rotting in prison right now with no speedy trial that they're offered that they have a right to taking place. And so they deposed these guys and girls, and they recorded them. And there is a Representative Barry Loudermilk, a Republican, who had requested these tapes from the January 6th committee. And And then he's told by a guy named Benny Thompson, who I don't really know who this guy was. I believe he was like the intake of evidence person, but I can't be 100% sure. But anyway, Mr. Thompson then informs Loudermilk that those tapes have been deleted. And when Loudermilk asks him why, how could you possibly delete these? He said, I just didn't see a need to keep them. That's pretty much in contrast to the House rules that state any kind of data and info used in any official capacity or proceeding must be preserved. So once again, you got rules out there, but certain people don't have to follow them. Those are only for you, not for me. For thee, not for me, as you hear all the time, but it's the truth. So they can go in and delete evidence all day long. And the other question is, so if this is a House rule and that House rule's been broken, what are they doing about it? So this is where the Republicans piss me off too, because they don't mind telling you. They don't mind putting it on the front page news. God, look what the Dems have done. Well, what are you doing about it? How come if it's a Republican that the Dems feel this much has crossed the line, they're immediately investigated and prosecuted, and it's all over the news, never ends? Look at Santos, for example. Regardless of what you think about Santos, he's out. We're going to be suffering a loss of a seat, and both idiotic Republicans and Democrats, made sure, of course, Democrats made sure that he got expelled. But at any rate, this January 6th stuff, they were huge for the purpose of comparing and contrasting against the actual January 6th footage to ensure that fair investigations against these January 6th so-called perpetrators, they're important for that. For the purpose of comparing what you saw on film to what they said when they were deposed. So anyway, you can't compare those anymore. That footage has been deleted. And it would have also been huge for the benefit of President Trump's defense in his prosecution of so-called crimes stemming from the January 6th riots. Ladies and gentlemen, these tapes were purposely erased. Let's not fool ourselves for one single moment. I don't know what to say about all this other than you're going to have a job to do this coming year. So in November of 2024, if you are sick and tired of these things the way that I am, if you share even the slightest worry, concern of where this country's heading, then by God, let's do something about it already. And short of that, folks, it's really all I got for today. Like I said, it's not a whole lot. I appreciate each and every one of you out there. The holidays are approaching fast. I pray that everybody has, and I'll talk to you before then, but everybody has a wonderful season, a very Merry Christmas coming up, and a happy and prosperous New Year, as prosperous as it can be with this idiot in. But take care of each other. Keep the powder dry. Keep your head on a swivel and stay strapped. And look out for one another. All right. Until next time, love each and every one of you. Remember that you were not born of weak men. Your founding fathers laid the roadmap down for us all, and they overcame all, and we can too. Just take care of one another, and you were not born of weak men. God bless you all. Talk to you soon. Bye.